hi everyone who's on with us today. Thank you so much for joining us to Gina's Mental Health Hub, where we talk about everything concerning mental health with a big focus on the minority community. Especially, we focus on minority women. Today, not only do we have a special guest with us, I'm super excited. I couldn't wait all week long. But we have a special topic that we're going to focus on. It's an epidemic that, I'll call it, from researching around a lot. It's a silent epidemic. We don't talk about it, especially among us women. Because this, research, the last one I found, states that 80%, 1 in 7 women struggle with this issue, but we don't talk about it at all. It's swept under the rug a lot of times. So, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We have with us today Dr. Lucinda Canty, my mentor from far. I watch her. I admire her so much. She's my saving grace when I was in my graduate studies. So I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for accepting to be on our discussion today. So Dr. Canty is a professor at the University of St. Joseph, like I mentioned before. She's also a maternal health consultant, and she helps prepare women through pregnancy and with any questions or any struggles or any of those kind of things. Which is a really awesome thing. She also works part-time at the Planned Parenthood. It's a great place to be. They have such great resources for women, especially minority women. So I want to welcome you again today. Thank you so much. Today, we're going to focus on talking about postpartum depression versus baby blues. How do we know the difference? How do we decipher that? So we're not hiding and saying, oh my God, I know something is wrong with me, but how do I act? So today we're going to highlight all of that stuff. So my first question to you, Dr. Canty, will be, can you tell us a little bit about postpartum depression versus baby blues?
Okay. So hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. So postpartum depression is, and this is where sometimes there's some confusion. People think like postpartum depression is like you just feel a little sad. You're having a bad day, you're feeling, because we say depression and people just mean I'm just depressed today and then tomorrow I'm back to my normal self. But depression is really, postpartum depression happens, of course, after the baby is born, can happen anytime. We think that sometimes it happens right when after you have the baby, but sometimes it could be gradual. It could be even up to a year. So, and sometimes there's subtle symptoms, but then it really hits a woman after about a year's time. But it's a mood disorder. It impacts the emotions. So again, it's more than just feeling sad. It impacts the way that you feel about yourself, your worth, your value. It can interfere with your concentration. It can interfere with how you feel about yourself or even your baby. So it's really like these beliefs that you have, and it's not something that's always easy to recover from.
Right.
Especially the more that is not addressed, the worse the symptoms can be. And then leading, this is more the complication that we want to avoid is suicide.
Right.
You know that postpartum depression for some women, if they don't get help, they can harm themselves,
Right.
harm their baby. So it is something that we have to pay attention to. And when we're looking at postpartum blues, it's really like a normal kind of thing that most women go through. Postpartum blues, because there's a shift in your hormones. Women are tired. They could be a little irritable. They can have mood swings. But the thing with postpartum blues is a woman is still able to take care of herself. You can feel overwhelmed, but you still get up. You take care of yourself. You take care of the baby. And you never really question your worth as a mother, as a woman. When we're looking at postpartum depression, the symptoms are more severe and it's more like a hopelessness, a worthlessness. Somebody even saying, everybody just cares about the baby. Nobody cares about me. If I disappear, no one's going to miss me. Everyone's going to be fine. Or you feel helpless, like I'm never going to get there to be that good mother. I'm not made to be a mother. It is really, and you start to withdraw from your family, from your friends. you have trouble sleeping, you're not eating. So I just want you to see how the symptoms could become more severe as long as
Right.
it's not addressed. But it,
Right.
in motherhood is tough. Like a lot of people think you just pop the baby out like on TV, everybody's happy, but there's sleepless nights. There's a
Mm-hmm.
baby that's crying that you think, oh, I'll just give them the bottle, they'll be fine, or I'll put them on my breast, they're fine, and they're still crying. And
Right.
like other roles, we get instructions on how to do.
Right.
But when it's you, things are different. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember because as you know, I'm a nurse midwife, and I remember you deliver the baby. When it's time to go, you give it to the mother, and you go home. Then when I had my own son, I was like, I gotta bring him home with me. I don't know what to do. I even told them my bleeding was a little heavy, so they could keep me an extra day. Because I was
Right.
gonna go home. I was like, I gotta bring him home with me, and I'm gonna be by myself. So it is overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah.
Depression complicates that because it complicates the way that you function, taking care of yourself, and then you're taking care of the baby too.
Right. Right. To recap, it means that the blues usually are milder. They
Yes.
last for maybe a week or two,
Yes.
and then when you
Yes.
start noticing that those symptoms last longer,
Yes.
that's where that.
Yes. Yes.
But do you think that there are certain risk factors, like say, like for me,
Oh
um
yes.
I was saying to you before, is that having two babies, that my birthing plan was totally like my first daughter, I was like,
Mhm.
what do you mean? I'm only 31 weeks. I don't want to have my baby right now,
Mhm.
but my birthing plan was thrown off. I had to have that baby right there. I wasn't ready.
Mhm.
My plan was totally off. So that, and then I had my baby was in the NICU also for
Yes.
weeks.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
my second baby was the same. That trauma from those two babies,
Mhm.
trust me, between myself and my husband, we were like, no more babies, because our trauma was just to that level. But
Yes.
are there any other risk factors? Like for
Yes.
me,
Yes.
with those, traumatic incidences, but I'm sure
Yes.
other women have other experiences in
Yes,
birthing.
yes. And there's so many. And I just even have to say, because I'm going to talk about some risk factors, but you could have everything together. You could be, you have a loving husband. He's going to be loving this child. You could be making lots of money. You could have a good job and you have all your resources and you could still develop postpartum depression. So I just want to say that's still it can still happen to anyone. But
Mm-hmm.
there are some things that put women at risk, and one is having a complicated delivery. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it could be maybe your blood pressure is up, maybe you have preterm labor, you have to deliver early. And
Right.
again, we have that plan because I even spoke to a woman who she just wanted to feel contractions, she wanted to push her baby into the world, and then she had a C-section that the baby had to come out, they induced her, no contractions, and she
Oh
wanted that so bad. It impacted her mood after because she felt like, I failed at that. That's part of being a woman,
yeah.
and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
So is when you don't have the plan that you want, and it could be even that, I'm going to do this naturally. And then you
Yeah.
end up with you 2 centimeters, you want that epidural. If that nurse don't come in with that epidural in a couple minutes, she's in trouble. So
Right.
it could be something that, as simple as I didn't want an epidural and I needed one. Because
Right.
again, it's how childbirth is a way that we look at ourselves as women. And that
Right.
and not just and it shouldn't be defining us. We're women. If we decide to have children, if we don't, we're still a woman. But some
Right.
women really take that to heart. That,
Right.
things didn't go well. But I also noticed if someone had hemorrhage, they were bleeding heavy after. Their blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure went up. They had these complications that they could have died.
Mm-hmm.
They also have to recover from that too.
Right.
So because it impacts their emotions, and they think about that. I just had a baby, I might not make it. But
Right.
other parts of that is if someone has a history of depression before they were pregnant, if
Mm-hmm.
they had a history of depression the last pregnancy, they're at risk. Because some people think, oh, I was going through something different then, now I'm better. But those emotions come out.
Come out right.
Yeah, but one area I've been noticing a lot are women who had trauma when they were
Mm-hmm.
younger, whether it was
Right.
child abuse, sexual abuse, even if they felt like they coped with it, there's something about pregnancy and childbirth that brings it out.
Right.
They didn't
Yes.
have a good relationship with their mother, you know,
Right.
I mean, and they're worried they're going to be like that with their child. So
Right.
so many things that gave them trauma that, maybe they didn't address and now they're thinking about it.
Right. Yeah.
Those are the common things. But you also mentioned having the baby in the NICU, because that's another thing too. That's another stress and anxiety. You want your baby to do well. And,
Right.
and I have to say, part of it is how we prepare women for childbirth. We don't always
Right.
talk about those other possibilities that you
No.
can have preterm labor, or that maybe the baby, your term, but the baby needs a little more time in the hospital, or their weight is not where we want their weight to be, or that you're
Right.
not doing well. But all those are things that didn't really think about, and now it's happening to us. So now we have to process right away. What does this mean to me?
To yeah, I know
Yes,
it's
yeah,
a lot. And not to talk about the ladies who, unfortunately will have birthing and the baby doesn't make it,
yes,
That's
yes.
another huge area,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times we don't really know how to talk to women, or we say, oh, she's going to be fine. Like we don't know
Right.
how to talk to women, and that's something big that they
Right.
have to cope with. Again, we're told about this perfect picture. You're going to have the perfect pregnancy. You're going to go home. The baby's going to go home. The baby, as soon as you put your baby to the breast, they're going to be feeding okay. No trouble with that. You'll be able to go home and take a nap when you take a nap when the baby takes a nap. All these things that you think are going to go smoothly, they don't.
And
But
they don't, right?
yes, but fetal loss, that's a big one. Even if it was a loss in the past, and you have a healthy pregnancy this time, you still sometimes are coping with that last pregnancy.
Right,
So,
right,
I think we definitely have to do better at talking about that. And
right.
also just thinking people may not be okay. We already make the assumption, she looks fine. She got her husband supporting her boyfriend supporting her. She'll be all right. Or she's young. And I hate when people are like, oh, she could have another one.
Right.
That's so hurtful. They're like,
Yeah.
trying to cope, but what happened? You're telling me to think I can have I can have another one.
Right,
You
right, right.
know?
Having a baby at home is such a miracle in itself, but it changes a big dynamic
Yes,
in home, in the
yes,
family, and people don't see it when they come in to visit, like for 30 minutes or so. But once they walk away, that baby is crying, and you got to get the home
yes.
together. And
Yes. And you're tired, you want to get some sleep, especially if you're breastfeeding or even bottle feeding, you're feeding all the time.
right,
And it's not a good feeling when you don't have enough sleep, but you
oh,
have to take care of this baby too.
it's a lot. Yeah, I remember myself waking up every 2 hours, and my mom had six of us, and I said to myself, oh my god, I can't believe that she was actually doing this like almost like every year, and waking up every like two every hour to feed.
Mm.
That's a lot. That can throw anybody into anxiety, where you're
Yes,
constantly
yes,
worrying if the baby's
yes,
okay,
yes,
looking over. And then this big thing about SIDS, you don't want
mhm,
your baby to not, you know, wake up from
yes,
taking
yes.
out,
I re-
so
yes, I remember for myself, I got a little monitor. I got out of my baby shower, and
mhm,
I was like watching it. So I'm in bed, supposed to be sleeping, and my son
right,
was sound asleep, and I'm watching it. So anytime he moved a little bit, I was like, "Oh, he's moving," and I thought I had to get up and check on him, and he was
right,
asleep away. But anyways, it was like I was just worried I'm gonna miss something. What if he needs me in the night? And
right.
so it just it does cause like that anxiety, a little additional stress.
Yeah,
And
right.
so,
But the thing is, I think sometimes we think, okay, the first baby, a lot of mothers are more like that, like hyper vigilant over the baby, anxious. But sometimes you can have five, even five more, and you're still that
yes,
way. Yeah.
yes,
So,
yes.
so the what I'm getting from you is a little bit of that is okay, but once you start noticing that those thoughts and feelings
Yes.
getting in the way of you being productive and you being able to
Mhm.
accept help. Because I was talking to a friend of mine
Yes.
the other day, she's like so engrossed in that anxiety that she couldn't even see anybody else taking care of
Yes.
her.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes too, we're afraid to even ask for that help because we don't want anyone to say they'll be like, oh, she's weak, or she shouldn't have had a baby if she wasn't ready. We're worried, and a lot of times people don't say that. I,
Right.
yeah, because we need that help. We need even just to have someone take the baby that you could sleep for 2 hours.
2 hours, right.
Or you having, I don't know if I'm pumping my breast right. I don't know how to store my milk. It's okay to ask someone. It's
Right. Yeah.
okay to reach
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Get
Reach
that
out.
support.
Reach out for help and accept the help.
Yes, yes.
So once we notice that, we really are in a place of feeling like we're ready to reach out for help, what
Yes.
kind of help do you think it's available out there? Being like you had those years of clinical experience, what are some of the help that we can, like, if you're really struggling, you want
Yes,
to reach out,
yes.
how does it look? How does help look
Okay.
for?
Yeah. And I just want to say on that because I think there are resources out there, but I found like a lot of women don't know how they don't even know that they need help.
Right.
Think that it's so important too for whoever their support is that they should make sure that they are aware also of depression, or if they see
Right.
something going on that they have a conversation and say, you haven't been getting out of bed, you haven't been, you doing your hair. And and I'll tell you, this patient that I had who always came to her visits, makeup on, hair done, nice clothes. She came in for a postpartum appointment in pajamas and her hair wasn't combed. I was like, something's wrong. And it
Yeah.
turned out she was isolating herself. She wasn't going out. We ended up getting her help and she was receptive to it. But she
Right.
didn't really think, she said, oh, I'm just tired all the time because I just had a baby.
Right.
Realized that there was more going on.
On that.
But still it's like being aware of those things so that they can know to get help.
Right.
And
Right.
but even in Connecticut, there are some good resources, but I always say start with your primary care provider or
Mm-hmm.
your OB provider. Some
Right.
OB providers don't get into depression. Some people, like one patient told me, I have my 6-week checkup. I'm done with them. They're done with me.
Right.
I don't know where to go. But
Mm-hmm.
so that's why it's so important to have a primary care. But if you
Right.
can, at your 6-week checkup with your OB, tell them what you're going through, what you're feeling.
Right.
Hopefully they'll refer you to someone,
Mm-hmm.
not your primary care provider. I think it's so important for everyone to have one so that
Right.
you have a need that there's someone that you could go to and
Mm-hmm.
talk to them. Some primary cares, whether they're nurse practitioners, MDs, they provide care. They could do their regular primary care and they may have some training in
Right.
handling mental health. So if not, then they can definitely refer you.
Right.
Another piece is that's so important is surround yourself with other women, other first-time moms.
Mm-hmm.
Most towns have like a mother and me group,
Right.
meetups. You could, even if you just get a group of friends, someone who just had a baby or had a baby a while ago, reach out to people who can kind of relate and know like what you're going through. I think
Yeah.
that's so important. But surround yourself with people. I
Yeah.
think it's important.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of support groups for moms. There's breastfeeding groups. There's a lot of different things that you could be involved with, but just be with someone who, again, has a small baby. Because
Right.
one thing I realize is a lot of women feel like they're alone. But I'm the
Right.
only one going through this. Nobody's going to understand. And then when they see other people, that maybe experiencing depression, maybe just stress, maybe anxiety, when they start to talk about it with other people, they realize they're not alone. And
Right. Oh,
even that in itself can be healing.
yeah.
Take away everything completely, but it just that knowing that you're not alone and you have that support or others that are like you and surviving, I think
Right.
it's so important.
It's important. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, in that, especially in our community, we have a thing against, like, let's say, besides the support group and all that, and it's still a struggle. What would you say to a woman who would you think will benefit from therapy or
Yeah.
what do you say to that?
Yeah. I would tell them to do it. It's so important.
Right.
And I always say, like, if let's say you don't have a primary care, you don't know, there's 211 that will give you resources.
Right.
There's Psychology Today. If you put
Yeah.
in your zip code, it will let you see who's in the area. And you'll be
Right.
surprised how many. There's providers that provide mental health, and there are some that specialize in maternal health. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just important to find, see what's in your community. And
Right.
again, people worry about, oh, that stigma that's related to depression.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with me? Or the other thing I heard is, oh, they're going to take away my baby.
Oh yeah,
That's a big fear. But I
that
tell
is
them, if they see you
fear.
trying to get help, and things change though. If someone is suicidal, you could call 911 because that's to me a crisis situation.
Yeah,
But they're not going to take away your child if you're going for counseling, if you're getting help.
right.
They're not going
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just so important. And when I do have women that go, I had one woman who was like, no, that's not for me. I said, can you just do one visit? Because she
Right.
didn't want to get out the house. She wanted to stay home. She had
Yeah.
this constant fear that something was going to happen to her baby. So I talked to her. I said, just do one visit.
Right.
That one visit, it was like her counselor was her best friend.
Oh my
She was like,
gosh.
I just needed, she said, just to have someone listen to me and
Yeah.
understand and recommend. She even recommended her for to take meds. And
Mm-hmm.
at first she was like, no, and then she decided to take it. And
Right.
she's so glad. She said it was not, I was able to take care of myself, my baby. I felt better about myself.
Right.
Also I felt like, I was because my counselor helped me to ask my partner for help,
Right.
ask my mother for help. So my
Right.
counselor helped her with her communication skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so valuable. It's so
Right.
valuable.
Right. Because that's a big part too, though, the communication with the partner. Because
Mm.
I think
Mm.
we women feel like we have to absorb all the burden when it
Yes, yes,
out care,
yes,
and
yes.
how do we best draw our partners into helping, you
Yeah,
know,
yes,
with baby, because a lot of fathers might take maybe a week off, if even,
yes,
right?
yes.
And everything else, still is like that, lies on the woman to take care of the
Yeah,
baby. So really having that counselor is like having someone to kind of give you that extra confidence to
yes,
communicate your
yes.
needs
Yeah, and
the way.
yeah, and I think we take for granted that men know what to do. Men don't know what to do. They don't know, and they see
Right?
you doing everything. They're like, "Oh, she's fine. She's doing everything on her own. She got it." But they
Oh,
don't realize that you just hold the baby for a couple hours. Just
uh-huh.
get this for me. Just do this for the baby. Change the baby.
Right.
Sometimes they need a little direction. So
Right.
yeah, but the funniest thing I heard was there was this mom, her husband worked, and because he worked, he was a breadwinner, so I'll just take care of the baby on my own. And then COVID hit, and she's like, now he's home all the time. He's not still not doing anything to help with the baby. So anyway, but she had to tell sometimes you have to give them little tasks to do, but you
Right.
have to communicate because if they see you doing it, they be like, oh, she got it, she's fine.
It's
So you
fine.
gotta let them know, I need an hour's sleep. I need a couple hours.
Yeah.
You know,
Because I feel like the consequence of that, not asking for the help, is that after a while, as a woman, we kind of have this facade of, I'm gonna do my thing. You have your
yes,
routine.
yes.
After a while, especially with a fresh baby, a young baby, you start to get irritated easily. You start to get
Mm,
angry easily. You start
yes,
to
yes,
get, snap easy. And then that can start even affect the dynamic of the
yes,
relationship between the parents.
yes,
And
yes.
what can you highlight a little bit on some of the consequences that can happen to a family if the mom is struggling and doesn't seek
Yes,
help, seek support? How
yes,
how
yes,
like because I think like to some of our viewers, if they know how it would look, how bad it can get versus
yes,
just
yes.
asking for the help, seeking the help.
And that's yes, and that's the thing with depression is sometimes I think that we just think, okay, it's gonna get better on its own. Or,
Mm-hmm.
okay, she's just sad, but she'll be okay. But the thing with depression is that it could tear apart a family. It can make
Right.
the mother attack the father, have anger or resentment towards the father, but also to the baby. And we've
Mm-hmm.
seen that unfortunately play out on news stories
Oh
where
yes.
either she knows there's something harm to the baby. And I've heard like there was a woman, I don't want to get into the details because it's so sad to think about. I'll just say that she harmed the baby
Right.
and she was on the news. But the thing about it is, yeah, the thing about it is
Oh,
the partner knew that she was having struggles, but he didn't think depression. But it can
mm-hmm.
lead to self-harm. First of all,
Right.
you could even mess up that relationship between her and her partner, but also the relationship with the baby, where she doesn't
Right.
want to care for the baby, or she starts feeling like the baby, this is the reason I'm having all these problems. I don't have everything I'm doing is relating to the baby. Nobody cares about me. But it can cause that resentment towards the baby.
Right. Right.
And she could
Yeah.
harm herself or she could harm the baby.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's really scary to think about, but that's what could happen if that those feelings
Mhm.
of worthlessness, helplessness, if they just continue,
Right.
not
Right.
counteracted or someone addresses that.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah. And
yes,
that can overflow into a woman, a professional woman as well. Like as you're
yes,
ready to, let's say you're at that 6 week, whatever mark, that
yes,
you're ready
yes.
to go back, going back to work. What can you say from your experience? What would you tell a woman? Would
Yeah,
you say if you feel like you're not ready? Because for me, I felt like at 8 weeks I wasn't ready, but I
yeah,
felt like I needed to go do it, even
yes,
though
yes,
my husband would say, it's okay, if you need more time. But I think my self-worth was like also kind of lies into
yes.
work. But I was at work, but most of the time I'm thinking about my baby.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Don't say I'm doing a great job, blah, blah, blah. But I miss my baby so much
Yes,
that I really
yes.
wanted to. So
And
I,
that's
I at that time I had done like a part time to slowly ease me into it than going in full time
yes,
because
yes. Yeah, but that's a problem with our society. Like other countries, they can have like a year off
oh
paid, or 18 months off paid. And
right
I think it's like the Netherlands is almost at 2 years, and for the
yeah
partner too.
oh
I think so, but we're tied into this, you got to go back in 6 weeks.
yes
You said 8 weeks. I went back at 12 weeks. I thought about my baby all the time. I couldn't concentrate on work. And then I'm still was pumping and I'm trying to pump and take, I was precepting students. I was like, I gotta find somewhere to pump, and I was even driving. I usually don't tell a lot of people this, but I was driving and pumping my breast at the same time because it's like, it's hard to get that work balance.
right
First thing I say is it's okay to not feel ready, because some
right
women are made to feel guilty. Even
right
employers will make you feel guilty.
okay
I need more time,
mhm,
6 weeks wasn't enough, or you're at work and you're worried about your baby, or you have to go to daycare to get your baby because they're not feeling well. They're like,
right
gosh, you got to leave again. We have a right to that. We have a right
yeah
to that. And I think it puts so much pressure on us. And what we're realizing now, it impacts the way we heal physically and mentally when we go
right
back to work too soon.
right
I used
yes
to tell women, I know some women have to do it. I've had seen women go back in 2 weeks. And I'm like, that's too soon. That's too soon. But they feel like I have to. A
mm-hmm.
lot of it has to do with planning. A lot of it has to do with getting support. I
Yeah
wish I had someone tell me, "Oh, just go. Don't worry. Don't go back." I wish I had a husband say, "Don't go back to work right away. Take another month." They wouldn't
right
have to tell me twice.
right I know that too
Yeah, I was like, "We'll make it." But you have to go by how you're feeling, and keep in mind when you do separate from your baby, it does something to you. It does something to you mentally,
yeah
and then we have that guilt too that we carry around. That's
right yeah
another big piece of our mental health and depression is we carry that
mhm.
guilt.
Oh, the guilt.
We worry about, oh God, my baby, I'm leaving my baby with someone, or, I have to work, maybe if I saved up money, I didn't have to work, but like you said, a lot of us tie in who we are through our jobs. And
Right.
if you get caught up with the baby, everything focusing on the baby, you neglect yourself.
You
So our
neglect.
job is something that gives us that.
Right. Yeah.
You gotta do part-time. You have to have a way to communicate with your baby. I see
Mhm.
women now that their person will put the baby on the video and let them see what the baby's doing.
Yeah. Right.
Of those things. You
Yeah.
have
Right. Yeah.
it's hard for us. It's hard for us.
It is.
A
It
lot of
is.
us don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. A lot of us don't have the choice of saying, we're gonna be home full time. But I
Mhm.
mean, being home full time to me, I think it's the most difficult job though. And
Yes.
I give a lot of women who do that credit because you're on 24/7. You don't break away from it. You're the it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's
That's
another difficult
true.
place too for women. But that's where I think, as you put it well, the self-care part of it is really important for us. Taking some time, whether you're working full-time, part-time, or home full-time, is to have
Yeah.
that time for
You
yourself.
gotta have something.
Without,
Even, yeah, even going to the store by yourself, going out to dinner with friends, you have to do something. And
mm-hmm,
at first we feel guilty. We're like, oh my God, I'm out here having fun and my baby's home. I think I had that. I think it probably lasted like a month. After that, I was like, I gotta go back home. You had to beg me to come back home. But
right?
we need that balance. We need just a time, even just to go to the mall and just walk around and have a little peace. Go for a pedicure,
Mm-hmm.
hang out with friends. It's hard now with COVID, but
Yeah,
still, if you could do something where you're social distancing, where you're out,
right.
you need those kind of things for yourself too. Because sometimes when you feel like you lose yourself, it's hard to get that back.
Yeah,
That brings
right.
in resentment too, because you're like, I don't. Everything's about you. Everything's about the baby. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have anything for What about me? I need to know who I am.
Yeah, right. I remember very well somebody gave me this advice that I never forgot. But it comes in so helpful in those moments, like when, because my one of my children had really bad colic and will cry. I mean, when I say cry, it's not like a cry. You can kind
Mm-hmm.
of everything, and that baby just keeps crying. She said, Gina, best thing you do, put that baby in a safe place, whether it's a crib or whatever. Let that baby cry out a little bit, step away. Because sometimes the more you want to fix it right there, because we are like
Mm-hmm.
fixers, would you
Yes,
say?
yes.
That stepping away sometimes, just step away, don't not go away, like away from the
Yeah,
home,
yeah.
away from the
Yeah,
baby,
yeah. But
from
put
the
them in, yeah,
way.
yeah. Even like if they have their little seat or somewhere, they're safe, they're
Mm-hmm.
okay. Because again, that crying, like because we always have it that I'll just pick them up, they'll stop crying.
Right.
I'll just rub their back, and that doesn't always work.
Or yeah.
Oh, colic, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just saying to the father, "Here's the baby. If you're breastfeeding, here's some. I pumped a couple bottles. You take it. I got to go for a walk. Just take
Right.
a few
Yeah.
minutes." But it's
Yeah.
like again, as women, we always fix it. We're always
Right.
fixing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I know. That superwoman hat that we wear. I had a baby, and people, of course, people are coming over to visit, but I wanted my home to look a certain way, or
Yes.
I wanted to have food in the house when they visited. So
Yeah.
running myself, like cooking and cleaning and making sure when people are
Mhm.
coming in, I'm smiling.
Yeah.
And
Putting makeup
he's
on.
gone. Like, oh God, what
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah, putting makeup on, and guests need to realize that too. Again,
yeah?
COVID slowed that down a little bit, but sometimes
Which
people want to come over. They're like, "Oh, she want to help. She wants to see, she wants to see the baby." But then you're like that, like you're saying, you're walking around cleaning. Let me put on some makeup so I can look cute for them. Let me have
no.
new food. You're waiting on them and the baby. I think that even just that support has to realize. Let me bring her a warm meal. Let me
Mm-hmm.
something. My mother had to tell me once, she's like, "We're coming over. You better not clean the house. We're gonna come over. We'll help you. Just relax. You don't gotta do anything for us." And even that being okay to say, okay, my house isn't 100%, but my mom understands. Because even for mothers, we want them to see that, oh, we're a good mom too. We did what they did, we're able to do. So, but
I'm like literally shaking in my chair when you said that. I'm like, that is so true, because I for me too, and personally, I had help, but yet in the presence of help, who is my mom, I wanted to put up this whole show of, I'm
mhm,
to
mhm.
look at me do this, look at me do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Except, so it can be, so it's really having this experienced women and group of supportive
yeah,
women, or community also around you, that will say it's okay, your house
yeah,
doesn't have to be
yes.
clean. When I
Perfect.
show your house, I'd rather ask you to, hey, is there anything I can do for you, Gina? Can I wash the dishes? Can I throw in laundry for you? You
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Rather than coming in and just sitting and chatting, so the whole time you're like, I got laundry to do, oh my God,
Yeah,
when am I gonna
yeah.
leave? You know be
Yes,
honest. I
yes,
don't care. I'm like,
yes.
there, when are they gonna go? Because I got stuff to do. If
Mhm.
you're not offering me help, I feel like you're just taking time.
Yeah, yeah, you're one more person I have to entertain and take care of, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, I think we have to communicate better as women,
Yes,
and put our needs
And it's
first.
okay. Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the resources out there that you feel like that
Yes.
women can benefit from?
Yeah, one again, look for new mommy groups. Sometimes I used to see the meeting like at the mall or Evergreen Walk. You know,
Right,
and but there's also in your community, like our local library has like a kind of like a mommy and me time, but they
right,
come with other new mothers. So see what's in your local area. Like
right,
something's changed with COVID. Things are even put onto Zoom, but still do Zoom and with other new moms.
right.
People but sometimes it's a good way to meet people too. The
Mm-hmm.
most important thing is that sense of community and that you're not alone.
Right,
That's so
right.
important.
Yeah.
Like I do it's called milkshake sorry, Mocha Milkshake is a breastfeeding support
I
group.
love
It's
that.
a touch. Yeah. Because it's geared towards women of color, but anyone can come. But it's really just a community to support, other new mothers. And then you could ask any questions that you want. Just look for things like that. There's okay, like you could ask anything. There's no question that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is new for all of us. So sometimes what you're going through, somebody else could be going through.
Right, yeah, yeah.
So anything that you could see with support groups, there is it's called Postpartum International. There's a Connecticut chapter. They could
Mhm.
also connect you to resources. There was a site called Growing Well LLC, and that's for they offer counseling for like new moms. You could start in the pregnancy. They work with you postpartum. They also work with families or with the couple. So
Yeah,
they offer that support. So there
yeah,
are psychologists that specialize in just working with pregnant women, pregnant and postpartum
right,
women. But then
yeah,
you can go to anyone for some support and some help.
yeah.
And Connecticut has a nice community, especially of psych mental health nurse practitioners
Yeah,
and people
yeah.
that specialize. So it's just finding the right person for
You're
you.
right. Oh, yeah. I think I want to get all that info and I'll tag
Okay.
on the video so people can access it. So it's
Okay.
there if they need it. Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
those are all such great resources. Some of them I wasn't aware of. Every now and then I see those groups on Facebook and stuff, but then if somebody else doesn't say to you, oh, those are okay to join, you kind of
Yeah.
iffy if you can join or not. But it's good to know that those are good outlets for support.
Yeah, because I know, like, I'll give you an example. At the support group, there was a mom that she was breastfeeding fine, but she was just tired. And then someone else said, oh, I'm tired too. But, this is what I do. I find a nice position to breastfeed. Like, they were helping each other. And we just
Right.
had a support.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes such a big difference.
Yeah, it makes such a huge difference because I think when you feel like you're not alone, it makes a world of a difference than being in your
Yes.
corner somewhere and have all these questions that you just have no way of having answers to.
Mhm.
So yeah. So I think this has been such an awesome discussion time. We are, we can go on and on. We are like past 30 minutes into it. We said 30 to 35. We're like way past. But it's been such an awesome discussion. I thank you so much for coming on and accepting the offer. And I thank you, anybody else who had joined in. Thank you so much. I'll put all the resource information in there and I'll put it up on YouTube as well for anybody else who wants to benefit from this discussion. But thank you so much, everyone. And please subscribe to the channel, Gina Mental Health Hub. And let's keep this work going. Let's bring the stigma down and let's help our Black women be more empowered at the end of it all. So I thank you so much, Dr. Kanti. We'll be in touch. I really, really appreciate and admire you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love the
Have
work that you're
a
doing.
weekend. Bye-bye.